Yo, 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 people and patrons of the night, it is your boy BD, and welcome back to the Horror Tavern, where you make sure that you grab a seat and you take a drink, because we're going to be once again exploring the limitless cavern that is the horror genre. But today you're going to have to settle with the Capri Sun on the rocks, because we're talking about kids' horror. Borderline basically YA horror. It's a kids YA horror kind of tale. And that, of course, is going to be me talking about a RL Stine short story that is one of my favorite kids horror slash YA horror stories that I have ever read. Not only does it have some of the most brutal and disturbing content in it, but the premise of the story is extremely wild, fun, and out of this world in a sense. And it ends up being a perfect package for a holiday read during Halloween. And it just not only embodies sort of the feeling of Halloween, but it also manages to just demonstrate some things that Stine normally never does in his stories. Full-length books, short stories, anything related to him. So yeah, this is a very standout piece of literature from him. So let's talk about the short story in question, which is going to be The Halloween Dance from the Haunting Hour short story collection. Now, if you've ever seen basically some of the things I talk about on the channel regarding some of my favorite horror books of all time, some of my favorite things out of R.L. Stine, you would know that the Haunting Hour short story collection is my favorite book from R.L. Stine outside of Goosebumps. I think the Haunting Hour short story collection is the best non-Goosebumps book that R.L. Stine has ever written so far, from what I've read. It has a lot of fantastic short stories in here. I just reviewed The Nightmare Hour, which I'll link in the comments down below, and that is sort of the first of the pairing of these two different books that he released at the same time. The Nightmare Hour is not as good as The Haunting Hour, but it's still very good. The Haunting Hour short story collection, though, is absolutely amazing. It's got a lot of fantastic stories in here. And The Halloween Dance is actually the first story in the book. So let me talk a little bit about what The Halloween Dance by R.L. Stine is about and the reasons why it's so amazing. So The Halloween Dance by R.L. Stine, as the title can tell, takes place on the holiday of Halloween. Halloween is going to be celebrated by this 13-year-old boy named Mark. Mark basically is put into a rough situation where he has to celebrate his sort of Halloween party with his friends, but he has to do that at the cost of being joined by his little 8-year-old sister, Madison, and she gets to invite all of her friends, and his parents is going to be setting up this Halloween party at their house. And obviously what ends up happening is 8 of his friends arrive, and they all take it very seriously. You know, they're grown-up kids. They dress up in really creepy costumes. They all dress up as ghouls, the undead, zombies. They dress up with this, rotted skin makeup. They got open wounds and bloody pieces all against their skin. One of the friends has like a knife sticking out of his back, so that's part of his costume. So they all dress up really creepy and scary. And I think even Mark goes as far to have a eyeball hanging out of his socket in this costume. So again, they all look horrifying. Meanwhile, the little sister, obviously, Madison, invites all of her friends, and the dozens of friends that come in are all, again, 8-year-old girls. They all dress up as princesses, and the mother's very embarrassing. She wants to play games like pin the vine on the pumpkin, and the father rents a scary movie that he doesn't want to be too scary, so he gets The Wizard of Oz, which, to be fair, The Wizard of Oz scared the shit out of me as a kid. The original Wizard of Oz is quite the creepy movie, and if you watch it at 3 a.m. or 2 a.m. as a kid like I did, it's going to mess with you a little bit. So he isn't feeling this Halloween party, and he decides, you know what, let's just ditch this. My parents are being corny. My sister's having a fun time, but this isn't a party for us. So him and his friends decide to all leave. And when they leave, they decide that they're going to go trick-or-treating, I think, up the hill in this suburb and try to see if they can find some fun stuff to do. And as they're crossing the road at one point, this amazingly bright light just appears in front of them. It feels like a solar flare from a sun. It blinds all of them, just this giant flashbang, and they all, get weirded out. And once the light, starts going away and they gain back their vision and they get out of the stun lock, they see this kid standing across the road on the sidewalk, and his name is Ray. This kid is also dressed up as a ghoul. He's got rotted flesh. There's like a giant wound in his cheek where the cheekbone is being able to like visible. It's visibly shown. Blood is dripping out. And he's got this bodily fluid mucus covering his eyes. So he just looks like he's doing the same type of costume that they're doing, a zombie slash ghoul costume. And Ray basically walks over to them. He's got this very hoarse, whispery voice, and he tells them that, hey, if you guys are looking for a fun time, I know this Halloween party that I can take you guys out at, and that would be a real, fun time for you guys. Not only would it be crazy, I think it's going to be fitting your tastes for what you want in Halloween. So they decide, you know what, let's tag along with this guy. Seems like he knows a good party, so we might as well join him. And Ray, excuse me, leads them to the suburbs' local graveyard. That's right, the cemetery. And when they get to the cemetery, they're sort of creeped out. It's a very, again, sort of your typical creepy cemetery, overgrown weeds. These weeds and plants are covering up the rickety old fence. They look at all these, tombstones that are lying out. They look like white teeth of this giant monster across the plain of this, countless graveyards and tombstones. And then, all of a sudden, as Ray, basically senses the fact that they're being hesitant, he tells them to keep looking. And then they start hearing this vicious hissing noise. And this hissing noise is then revealed to be this snake, will-o-wisp-like smoke, excuse me, that starts coming out of the dirt. And it starts floating up in the air and lingering there. And next thing you know, they start seeing some horrific stuff. They start seeing these rotted, worn down, fleshy hands, much like their ghoulish zombie costumes, breaking through the dirt, raking across and grabbing onto the ground. They see another pale, torn up, rickety arm come out, and then they see all of a sudden this head push up through the ground, and it's got this long, black hair, it's got this rotted flesh, open wounds, exposing bone, and it reveals to be this woman who has no eyes. She has these gaping, rotted sockets where she has no eyeballs, and she pulls herself out, and they see this zombie ghoul woman come out of the ground. And next thing you know, as more rumbling and hissing happens, they see more and more of these undead corpses start pulling themselves out of the ground, contorting and getting their bodies ready as they stretch out. And all of these zombies come out again. They are, as horrific of body descriptions as you can get. They all have open wounds. They have, bones showing. They have skin missing. They have gaping eye hole sockets. They have no noses. They have no mouths. They're just horrific looking creatures of the undead. And they all start, limping and moving towards this like sort of old mansion, chapel kind of looking area. And that's where Ray says the party's being held. And all of these guys freak out. I mean, all the friends are basically worried. They're looking and they're like, whoa, 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 this is more than we can handle. We were not expecting this type of crazy shit to be going down. But, hesitantly, they decide if we go back, to the party, we're going to have, no fun. It's going to be a ruined night. So even though, Mark, the main character, is very much hesitant and scared, I think his friends convince him to basically at least see what's going on. Because they say, you know what, let's at least check out. This is a case of curiosity, killed the cat kind of theme. And they decide, let's at least check out what's happening in this house, this sort of old building area where this party's being held. And, worst case, if it gets too crazy, we could just haul ass out of this graveyard and be out of here. So they decide to follow anyway. They're still not sure if what they're seeing is real or, maybe this is a trick on their minds or something. And then they get to this old building where the party's being held. And when they open the doors and get in there, they see a crazy sight. They see all these disgusting, decrepit, undead people, these undead humans, these zombies, all partying and dancing. There's no music. It's all silent, but they're swaying and moving, and they're all doing a bunch of crazy stuff. You have one guy who rips off the head of this shorter zombie pulls out the severed head and starts playing a game of keep away while the headless figure tries grabbing it back. You got people dancing, and then their arms start falling off and clattering against the floor. You have people's skin falling off, eyeballs falling off. You have a decapitated headless woman that starts swinging off of the chandelier to this, I guess, undead ballroom, this crypt, this mausoleum or whatever. Everybody is just doing this wild, crazy, lunatic dancing, wild, zany stuff. And again, they're all the undead zombies. So these guys get really, really freaked out. And as excuse me, they're about to haul ass and get out of there, this pale girl shows up to him, and she seems a little bit more, normal looking. She just has pale skin, it's all cracking. She's got these deep sunken eyes that look like, dry prunes, and she whispers this hoarse, whisper of death kind of voice to them that, how are you? How old are you? She starts asking all these questions to them. And next thing you know, she starts, in the middle of conversation, they get so preoccupied talking to her and trying to get past her that next thing you know, this announcement is made that they're going to do this little ritual before the Halloween dance happens. And the Halloween dance is this sort of event that's explained by Ray that every single participant of the undead goes into during the holiday of Halloween when the full moon is out in the night sky over the graveyard. So they start playing this game where they take this mirror, the girl who they're talking to is handed this mirror, and they start going around the entire banquet of the zombies and ghouls, and they try to see if anybody has a reflection. And if you have a reflection, that reveals that there's an imposter, there's a member of the living that's amongst you, and it's hinted that basically they'll use you as food. They will rip you to shreds and eat you if they find out that an intruder is within their sacred ritualistic dance. This is an RL Stine story, people. We'll keep going. So as she does this mirror thing, it slowly gets to a group of friends, and once the mirror is put into them, they get afraid that this is going to reveal that they're humans and they're all going to get targeted. And eventually, they're going to get basically jumped by all these different zombies. They're going to try to eat them. And then when the mirror is shown, there's a big reveal that happens. And this reveal recontextualizes something that happened in the story. It reveals that maybe not everything is as it seems. And before the characters are able to react to what happens, next thing you know, they're all dragged out into the graveyard for the Halloween dance under the full moon. And some crazy reality warping, time warping stuff starts happening as they are locked into a dance of the Halloween holiday under the full moon of the graveyard, where the night of the dead can then merge with the living. And there's some time continuum stuff that happens that allows these people to perform this sacrificial, ritual dance that lets them, join the world of the living for one time during the holiday of Halloween. And now these guys are locked in this really bad situation. They have to figure a way to get out. And they come up with a plan, but it does not go as they expected. It goes quite bad by the end of this book, and that is the Halloween dance. Again, this is the first short story in the Haunting Hour short story collection by RL Stine, and it's fantastic. As I explained, this short story is extremely dark, disturbing, and creepy. There is a lot of wild body horror and descriptions of these undead that is horrific. Again, you get all this, disturbing stuff about open wounds, bones showing, limbs missing, and again, during the dance, they start, decapitating and severing people's limbs, all this crazy stuff. And then on top of that, you have, again, a certain event that happens to the main characters. You have the fact that, if they fail this mirror test, they're all going to be eaten alive by these zombies. There's a lot of crazy, dark stuff in this book. I mean, this is probably one of the darkest and most disturbing stories Stine has written. And yet, simultaneously, it's one of the most fun, because amongst that dark and disturbing stuff, you have this wild, insane plot of the Halloween dance. This insane plot that during the holiday of Halloween, every year under the full moon at night, all these zombies and ghouls rise up and they all decide to participate in this giant, crazy monster mash kind of party. You have this like, wild lunatic banquet hall dance that they all participate in, and then you got this ritualistic reality warping stuff that they get into. So it's a very wild plot, but at the same time it's very fun. The maniacal and crazy party event that happens on Halloween kind of is, I guess, symbolical, because you have the idea of the undead, people who have lost their lives, lost opportunities. A lot of the people in here have been in unfortunate accidents and situations, and they basically become enslaved to their circumstances of being the dead. They no longer have freedom in life. And yet on this magical holiday of Halloween, during this banquet dance that they have, they all get the opportunity to embody freedom once again. They gain that freedom of life. They gain that freedom of amusement. They're able to party and have fun. So the contrast of these disturbing, dark, disgusting, entities that are all bound to death, now getting this once in a lifetime opportunity every holiday to be able to bring back the living, bring back fun, bring back amusement. It's something special, and it makes the plot of the story something really unique, and I really love it. That's why I'm rocking the blazer, because to be honest with you, I would give this short story by RL Stine a 10 out of 10. This is a fantastic short story. It embodies a lot of great things that I love. First, you have the Halloween setting, which I love Halloween settings for stories. Next, you have how much of the crazy dark content you get in here that Stine usually never ventures into. I've never seen a story where Stine goes this heavily into the dark, disturbing, macabre kind of stuff. And at the same time, he manages to mix that with a really fun and crazy plot, so that way it doesn't feel like your typical stuff that you get in horror. It actually feels pretty unique. And overall, it's just a fantastic story. I would give this short story, the very first short story in the Haunting Hour collection, mind you, a 10 out of 10, which sets the atmosphere and the setup for the rest of this book. This short story gets a 10 out of 10. It's perfect to me. I would recommend each and every single one of you read this short story during Halloween. I think you'd have a great time with it. And yeah, make sure to check out the Haunting Hour short story collection, because there may or may not be more stories that pop up in this series that I call the best I've read or watched, because there's a lot of gems in this book. There's a lot more gems out there that I could cover in the horror genre, and I hope to get to it all soon. But please, go check out the Halloween Dance by R.L. Stine, a perfect kids horror / YA horror story for me. That's all I have for today. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you like this little video, hit that subscribe button down below and hit that like button. We're 8 subscribers away from hitting 300 subscribers. If we can hit that, that would be amazing. And make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to comment down below your thoughts and opinions. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Do you like the Haunting Hour short story collection? Have you not read it and you want to? What do you think about the short story? Let me all know down below. It helps boost the video up the algorithm and gets the content out there for you guys so you guys can see it and enjoy. And that's all I have for today. Hope you guys enjoy, and deuces. This blazer on top of the little Steve Urkel button shirt. It's not the most impressive, but hey man, we got to do at least something special for good stories like this.